Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Judson Memorial Church. Can we have a round of applause for John over here? John, thank you for beautifully calling us into this space together. For those of you who I haven't had the honor of meeting, my name is Micah. I am the senior minister here at Judson Memorial Church, and it is such an honor to welcome all of you into this space this evening. At Judson, we have never known how to be a church unless we are entering this space with open hearts, with open minds, with open spirits, so that we can enter difficult conversations while leaning into peace and leaning into hope. We always enter this space ready to be transformed. So no matter how you have entered this space this evening, I hope you have entered this space wanting to lean into some form of transformation, and I can't wait to meet you right there. It is such an honor to partner with American Friends for Combatants for Peace and with Middle Collegiate Church, and to have all of them in the space here with us tonight. We are going to share stories. We are going to come together and meet in that middle place where peace and hope are possible. And we love to breathe in this space. So before I welcome up the amazing Reverend Jackie, I'd just love to invite you, if you feel okay in this space, to close your eyes for a moment and listen to the quiet. And take a deep breath in and let it out. Another deep breath in and out. One more deep breath in and out. And open your eyes. Look around the room at the folks who have decided to be in this space with you tonight. And give your attention now to the amazing Reverend Jackie Lewis of Middle Collegiate Church.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jackie. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I have the incredible joy and responsibility of being the senior minister at Middle Collegiate Church. We are long-term friends with Judson Memorial Church, so I'm thrilled that they were able to host us and this event tonight. Middle had a fire about 3 years ago, and we've been making mishkans everywhere we go. Now we're worshiping at East End Temple with our friend Josh Stanton, but always able to hang out at Judson, so thank you, Micah. I am a universalist Christian. As a black feminist, black womanist leader, we often try to locate ourselves in the middle of the world. I'm a black feminist universalist Christian who believes all the paths lead to God, all the paths lead to love. So I've been deeply curious about Judaism, deeply curious about Hebrew, deeply curious about Palestine, and deeply curious about Israel, because this guy that we call Jesus kind of, hung out in those regions when he was young, born in Bethlehem, raised in Nazareth. I've made 6 pilgrimages to the Holy Land, and on one of them, I actually had a chance to meet Suli 2 years ago with a bunch of clergy there studying the region. What I want to say is we are all one human family, and in one place in the world where there's pain or heartache or heartbreak or violence, we're all deeply affected and impacted. And the land that many of us call holy is certainly in a heartbreaking space. So when I was with Suli 2 years ago, and years before that, I met these combatants for peace. I met these Israeli and Palestinian soldiers. What? Palestinian and Israeli soldiers putting down their arms to think about how to make peace together. Not only them, but their grandmothers, right? Not only them, but their children. Not only them, but people in politics. And not only them, but people who all over the globe understand that our humanity is stronger than our differences. So how thrilled are we that we're invited tonight to host this program with Combatants for Peace, and that we have a safe space, a brave and safe space to listen, hear, learn, lean into peace, because we hear stories and are motivated by the stories of our brothers and sisters to be the best we can be. I want to say how thrilled I am that Gilly Getz is my neighbor. He's back there doing what he does, which is taking pictures. He and his beautiful wife, Yael, are my homegirl and homeboy. What's up, Yael? We live in the East Village together, and we have done, if you don't know about the ungendered Bible or the regendered Bible that Yael has worked on, you need to look that up. These are my people. Let's give her a hand. So Gilly follows me in the socials, and I follow him in the socials. Gilly and I and Yael follow each other in the justice-making places. And it is because of that that I am here. It is because of that that I am here. I am here. So you come here. I love you and Yael so much. So grateful for your work in the world, okay? So Gilly's going to introduce the other folks that are coming, and I'm telling you, we are in for heart transformation this evening. Thank you so much for coming. In my hand is a postcard you're going to get from my friend Mackie at the end of the night, a way to continue the conversation in an April conference that we're having at Middle Church. So we want to make sure that you stay in the conversation with us, okay? Gilly, it's you.
Thank you so much, Reverend Jackie. It is so special. So special to be here with you. So admire your leadership in the justice movement in America. Every single day you inspire me to be better, to do better. Thank you for your leadership and your vision and your courage. Thank you so much. Thanks you, Middle, so much for hosting us. Middle, so special to us, a shining light in the interfaith, multicultural, multiracial, multi-ethnic movement for racial justice and equality. For all people, and Judson Memorial, so special to be here. Thank you, Reverend Micah, thank you so much. My name is Gilly Getz. I'm the chair of the board of American Friends for Combatants for Peace. I'd like to, for a second, to uplift the pilgrimage for peace that left Philadelphia today, going to Washington of interfaith coalition against the war, to stop the war, to return the hostages, for permanent ceasefire, and for aid to Gaza, and uplift the people in Rafah. 1.5 million people have nowhere to go. All eyes on Rafah. Make your voice heard. Let Rafah live, let Gaza live. Thank you all so much for being here. I want to tell you today about a miracle that happened in the Holy Land in 2005, a miracle called the Combatants for Peace movement. A miracle that took a leap of faith. Palestinian and Israelis took a leap of faith and met in a meeting they didn't know if they're gonna make it or not. They took a leap of faith because they recognized something in each other. They recognize something in each other. They recognize they both reject violence. They both recognized that there is a better way. After a year of secret talks, the movement was born. The movement was twice nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. The movement puts together the biggest peace event in the land year after year, something that started as a small fringe theater, grew up to be the joint memorial ceremony. We have another co-founder that just joined us, co-founder of the movement and co-founder of the ceremony, Elik. Thank you for being with us, Elik. Of bereaved families, we come and we mourn together. 15,000 were last time, and more than 250,000 watched live. We also have the joint Nakba Day memorial where we mourn the Nakba together. The movement models, innovates, and cultivates joint nonviolent resistance to the occupation. a very difficult work, especially in Zachafria in the South Hebron Hills and in the Jordan Valley, where Palestinians are facing ethnic cleansing, settler violence. And the movement also promotes the Freedom School that trains young activists, Palestinians and Israelis, in nonviolence, in the power of nonviolence, and joint binational work. We organize from the river to the sea in Israel and in Palestine for the freedom and collective liberation of all. It's my great honor to introduce our executive director, Tiffany. So grateful for you. So grateful for you. And let our activists and leaders of the movement, including the co-founder, introduce themselves. Truly extraordinary human being. I'm so grateful you get to hear from tonight. Thank you, Reverend.
How are y'all doing tonight? You good? You can say it out loud. It's okay. Okay, good. I just wanted to check for pulses. I come in peace, and I bring you some music. Music is a privilege I get to do at Middle Church as the director of music. And so I want to sing a bit of this song to you, and I want to invite you to also be a part of it. Right? So it's called I Need You to Survive, and I think tonight's message is that we all need each other, that there's some things that can divide us, and if we're not careful, we'll just end up being divided. And this song has a different message. I need you, you need me. We're all a part of one body. Stand with me, agree with me. We're all a part of one body. It's our desire that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. You are important to me. I need you to survive. Pretty easy, right? I need you, you need me. We're all a part of one body. Stand with me, agree with me. We're all a part of one body. It's our desire that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. You are important to me. I need you to survive. When I teach in the schools, I do something called echo. Would you echo me? It says, I need you. You need me. We're all a part of one body. Stand with me. Agree with me. We're all a part of one body. It's our desire that every need be supplied, that every You are important to me. I need you to survive. You are survive. You are important to me. I need you to survive. I'm not going to be here very long, but I'm going to invite you into a body experience with the song, right? There's something about singing that goes beyond words that doesn't, I don't know how it translates, but there's something that rests in the body. So I'm going to feed you the words, and I'm going to see if you can sing it with me this time together. Thanks for playing with me. I need you. You need me. You need, we're all a part. We're all a part of one Baba Mari. Stand with me. Agree with me.
Agree with me.
We're all a part.
We're all a part
of one body.
God's body.
It's our desire that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. You are important to me. I need you to survive. You are important to me. I need you to survive. You are important to me. I need you to serve. Thank you.
My musician, John Del Cueto, Middle Collegiate Church. Thank you, John.
All right, I guess we'll go up and say something and then cue a movie, a video, a quick video. You guys want to come up with me? Yeah, come on. We're freestyling it just a little bit right now. Thanks for entertaining us. So before I introduce our speakers, I just want to thank Reverend Jackie, Reverend Micah, Middle Church, Judson Memorial Church for having us. This is my favorite Ash Wednesday I have ever had, and I love my husband so much, but also this is like the biggest love fest I feel in my heart. So thank you for sharing this time together. On Ash Wednesday, we say, remember that we come from dust and we will return to dust again. And for me right now in this moment, that really helps me be present because I will never get this moment back. And you, with our brief lives that we have, with all the things we could do, chose to be together. So I just want to take a moment to honor you, to see you, dust of my dust, flesh of my flesh. Sister, thank you. Thank you. So before our speakers speak, I would like to ask our tech friend up there if you will cue a video.
I was 4 years old when we were attacked on Yom Kippur. I remember us running to the shelter in Tel Aviv. It's very concrete for a child. They want to kill us. And I really didn't understand, why do they hate us so much?
ناصر أخوي كان أصغر مني له كان تقريبا عمره 14 سنة. الجيش اللي حكوله أطلقوا عليه رصاصة. أنا ما بعرفش كيف هذيك اللحظة قدرت أتحمل الموقف.
كان عندي حلم اني اكون مقاتل في صفوف الثوره الفلسطينيه يعني واكون جزء من الكفاح المسلح ضد الاحتلال. كنت مستعد انه اموت في سبيل هاي الافكار.
I was admitted into the most prestigious unit in the Israeli army. I was extremely proud. I knew my father was proud.
صرت أفكر كتير إيش أنا دوري في الحياة هنا. فاخترت إني أعمل عملية استشهادية. זה מקומם, זה פשוט מרגיש טרור. ככה מרגיש טרור בעיניי.
מישהו התקשר ואמר שיש פלסטינים שמוכנים להיפגש איתנו.
كنت كثير خايف إنه قد يكون في مصيدة يعني هون.
We find that we actually have something in common. That willingness to kill people you don't know.
عندهم قوة يا جميل مش طبيعي. بده يجي كم واحد من المقاتلين من أجل السلام رفضوا الخدمة يغيروها.
إذا أنت قريتي عن نيلسون مانديلا شخص لحاله غير دوله وكان كل الدين وغير كل النظام، وأنت بتعرفي إنه شخص لحاله، كل شخص لحاله كيف قدر يسوي هيك؟ كيف قدر يسوي؟
אנחנו מזמינים את כוחות הביטחון לפשוט את המדים ולהצטרף אלינו.
أنا بفقدش الأمل في فكرة إن السلام إنه ما في طريق ثاني غير السلام.
So this film was filmed between 2014, 2016, and our movement was founded in 2006. We are very blessed, very honored to have one of our founders who is in this film with us tonight, Suleiman Khatib, Suli, as we fondly know him. And over the years, our movement has certainly grown and diversified to include not just former combat soldiers, but refuseniks, those who chose peace right off the gate and knew that violence was not the way for them, and a lot of women leaders now, which we are so proud of and so fortunate to have. So we also have with us tonight Iris Gur, who's been with the movement about 6 years and is an activist, organizer, and coordinator for Combatants for Peace. To know us now, you have to know who we were. And so I want to invite Suli and Iris to share their personal stories, who they are, and what brought them to this work.
Good evening. First of all, I want to say that this evening is very special to me because sitting there, 3 friends of my daughter, and between them, one is Israeli and one is Palestinian, one from Tel Aviv and one from Gaza. And I really think that this is not a coincidence that you are here in this holy place, and I'm praying for all of us. So who am I? My name is Iris. I'm an educator. I was a teacher and a school principal for most of my life. I grew up in a city called Netanya, north to Tel Aviv. It's a conservative city, and in a very Zionist family. Before I will continue, I have a question. Could you raise your hand if you can say, stop the occupation, or may say it, you can say it. Stop the occupation. Wow. I'm 59 years old, and until 6 years ago, I couldn't say occupation out loud. I couldn't pronounce it. It wasn't a word it wasn't in my vocabulary. In my family, I grew up with the narrative that Israel is the only place for the Jewish people. We are a small state surrounded by enemies. My mother was a Holocaust survivor. She came to Israel when she was a child. My father also came to Israel from Europe after the World War II, and he was a military officer. So the narrative that I heard at home and in school and everywhere around me was that we are the bad, we want peace, and they want to kill us or even throw us to the sea. I knew when I grew up, I knew better. I knew there is something wrong over there, but what is going on over there, like 14 kilometers east from my home, my town, something is wrong. And then, at 2017, at the winter, my daughter came to me and said, "Mom, I'm not going to serve the army." I don't know if you know, but in Israel, serving in the military, it's law, it's a duty. Boys are going through 3 years almost, and girls for 2 years. And she's just saying, "Mom, I'm not going to serve the army." My first reaction was yelling at her. How dare you? How dare you not going to the army? It's the law. Everyone is doing it. Your brothers they were combatants. Your grandfather was a military officer. How dare you? And then there was a silence in the kitchen for 15 minutes. And I was like standing. The silence was because I never yelled at her before. Yeah, I was thinking to myself, all your life you educate your pupils, your students, your own kids to ask questions, to have their own opinion, to have a critical mind. And now, when your own daughter is coming to you and she has her own opinion and you don't respect her? So I went back to her and I said, "Okay, I respect you, but please promise me that you do a civil service instead of the military service." And she said, "Sure, Mom." We started a journey towards the military authority, and it ended with 4 months in the military prison. She was sent to 104 days in the military prison. When she was in prison, before she went to prison, she asked, "Mom, when I will be inside the prison, will you be my voice outside?" And I said, "Of course." And I said, "And let's use the gimmick that I'm a school principal, and then we can catch the public eye there, and they will notice." So it was in the newspaper, and I was called for the authority of the education system, education bureau. And there was the education committee in the parliament that asked to fire me because I called for a refuser. Well, I was not. And they couldn't fire me, and I knew it. But we catch the public eye. But something more happened. I started to ask questions. I started to look for the answers. Why is she doing it? What is really happening? What is going on? What is it, the occupied territories? And I went to tours to see the reality. I went with Breaking the Silence, with Women Wage Peace, with Combatants for Peace. And when I saw the reality, what is it to be a Palestinian under the occupation, under the Israeli rule, under the military rule, sorry. I saw the darkness. I saw the evil. And I couldn't go back. I couldn't go back to silent. And I decided that I want to tell the whole world to know about it, that more and more people, like average Israeli like me, will know about it. The joke about me is when Noah went to jail, there was a demonstration, and the people that support her, they used, they came to demonstration like to support her, and I say to them, please don't say occupation. Don't say occupation, please. No occupation. And a year after, I was the one that's going with the sign and calling, stop the occupation on the first line. So this is transformation. I joined Combatants for Peace because it's a binational movement. And I know that if we want to have peace, we need to work together. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome to the club, Reese. Thank you. I will stand, okay. And thanks for having us, really. This is really an honor to be here, and also with some familiar friends, faces here to recognize. And especially at this time, it's not obvious that people can come together. It's supposed to be a natural thing to happen, but unfortunately we have to struggle to cross all the barriers among the different communities. So my story is really different from Iris. I'm a Palestinian. I born in Jerusalem, living directly and firsthand under the occupation. My family has been living in the land for centuries, like really ancient family or very old family in Jerusalem mountain, to say. So for me, like naturally, I grew up with kind of a tribal system, what you use here, like indigenous people to the land, that carry a lot of ancient wisdom, a lot of tradition, a lot of culture, and also a lot of love and connection to the place, to the land, to the trees, and so on. So from my childhood, I became aware of the kind of the political system in the place compared to my generation. I just don't know how. But I used to have secret political magazines that were illegal. So I would hide them and read them, and also have access to some revolutionary music. I played the flute also. Shibaba, Gabriela, you know this. So there is some, this music was legal actually. You can go to jail for this certain music actually. And maybe it's strange for people to know that there is laws that you will be arrested for certain songs. Still, some of it is still in the place actually. My older brother was in jail, so I have access to the activist community, to say. The people that were in jail, that also freed from the jail. So basically, in my childhood, which is, I grew up in Jerusalem and around Jerusalem. I actually also knew some Hebrew, because that's how Jerusalem works. I joined the resistance at the age of 13, 14, and that was almost my full-time thing to do. I was very active. I have my own group, and the honesty, the adrenaline I have, and the mission, it was all about free Palestine. That's very simple. I come from a Muslim family. I was not a religious person, and this has nothing to do with the education system, because my school was under Israeli control fully, so nothing to do with politics directly. So I started doing, graffiti, throwing stones, cocktail Molotov, or Molotov cocktail, I don't know, you corrected me yesterday, I can't remember which one is the correct one, but it doesn't matter.
My role model was people like Che Guevara, like people that fight for freedom, and this is what attracted me. So I also at this time, like the Israeli has built a settlement between my community and Jerusalem, which is basically my village, my community belong to Jerusalem since like centuries. So like the city life, the daily life. I'm not talking about the political even part. So they built a settlement that cut the historical tie with Jerusalem, with the city. And also, they demolished like 2 houses in my village. So one person from this family that was apolitical, not from activist family, has joined me. We attacked 2 Israelis in order to take their weapon, 2 Israeli soldiers. So basically, this ended up with a slightly wounded for the 2 Israelis, and I was arrested after a few days. I was 14 and 5 months. This is my life before jail. And now we go to jail. I was arrested to a military jail, military law, and that's where basically the rules there, it's a military rule. It's not the normal even Israeli law, just to distinguish. Means like the edge, and you don't have rights, basically, like simply. So I went through like different stages in jail. Of course, the investigation include a lot of physical and psychological torture. For me personally, I played my best version of Palestinian hero. Like I don't show weakness, strong. I have songs in my head, in my heart, to keep me like strong when I was alone in the beginning of the arrest, with the torture and everything. And then I became 15. Going back and forth to military court, I was sentenced to 15 years. My friend was sentenced to 18 years in jail. So all the prisoners in my time, they knew us because this was kind of a joke. It's a military court, like there are like 3 judges, military judges basically. So I spent 10 years and 5 months in jail. That's my teenager time. That's my basically teenager time, and during the jail time, I was also active in we have different organizations in jail, and basically the main thing we do in jail in order to improve the daily life in jail, water, books, and so on, we do a lot of hunger strike, food hunger strike. So my first one, I was 15, was for 16 days with 120 kids. We declare a hunger strike we don't know when it will end, but it ends after 16 days. The last one for 17 days. All the prisoners across the jails, 4,000 of us has joined the strike with 30-something demands. We have a spokesperson, we have committee. We're very, very organized, actually. So this is my first experience of what we call like the power of nonviolence when I was 15. And that's how I learned about nonviolence in the first hand. What I would say, I tried to reach our freedom by my hands, like using violence, at 14. At 15, I learned by my stomach, what we call it in Arabic. I've tried to translate, it's not easy. The stomach, battle of the stomach. Yes, this succeeds all the time. And of course, when you think about it, with the power dynamic, with the police, this is nothing. We don't have anything. We always succeed. And that's how I learned that nonviolence work. And I want to say it here because we leave you with some questions. It's hard to convince people that nonviolence work. Serious, with the heavy army machine that we face. But globally, I mean, and historical conversation. So basically, the hardest time in jail also is really the hunger strike because you lose hair, you become skinny, you got sick, you might die. It's not simple. You also join by choice, like you sign that you want to join by your choice, but then you can't stop until the group stop, which means there is a community, there is a solidarity, tadamun, we call it in Arabic. This is very strong, important element in our movement. So yeah, that's how. Then I also worked in the library. I also then like read about Martin Luther King and Gandhi, and I was giving this today of Martin Luther King of the community. Like this month, like beloved community is very important, and that's how I grew up. I come from a tribal system. Actually, in my family, there is less individualism than the West, as you know. So I think this is also kind of important element in our stories and conversation. Yeah, so basically through the jail time, it's a long journey. I don't have really, like I slept at night, I wake up in the morning, I fall in love with Zionism. That's not my story. Just make it a bit of sarcasm. I have long journey coming from, like a willingness to find also solutions, things that can work. So there is the moral values, there is where I'm coming from, and the victimhood and the history and the losses and the grief. And also I want something that works for our people, for our cause, that strategically works. So as I said, like I think I can say quickly, I reached the conclusion that there is no military solution, period. And what we said, this was like 30 years ago. I'm 52 almost soon. I look younger, but because of jail, but that's how I am. And we still speaking about the same. Now, in war in Gaza, we are speaking the same language together with our Israeli partners that were in army. We experience this in our body, in our hands. The second thing that really choosing nonviolence, because it's not because I don't have other choices. I do, or we do. I choose it because I want morally to promote a world that really adopt nonviolence, that practice nonviolence, not because it's just a nicer strategy or a strategy that will work, which is also another important element here. And it will enable also partnership with any Israelis that refuse to serve the apartheid system. For me, anyone that's not serving that system, specifically the army, is welcome in our movement and is a partner. Because our struggle is really, in my eyes, is not really to free. I started for free Palestine, and I'm still committed. And I'm committed, and we're committed for the freedom and liberation of our peoples from the river to the sea, both if you are from the oppressed side or the oppressor. And this is important to mention the power dynamic and to take responsibility. But I feel we are in this journey together for the freedom of everyone. And I do think Israelis are also in a prison in a way or another. And of course, like we are aware of the traumas, the generational trauma and the needs and the fear and all the challenges. But I find it through our partnership in Combatants for Peace and in the wider community that's trying to embrace the mix, the multiple narrative to the story. Okay, let me say this. The truth is, it's as easy to stay in your own narrative. That's the truth, in my experience. That's much easier than to go into holistic and complexes. Well, we don't choose the easy. We choose the more moral thing that really speaks to our truth, to our heart, to the history, to the justice of the land and the people. In jail, I also learned Hebrew, and of course, as Palestinian, I studied, Mahmoud Darwish and the poetry and the history and everything. I just find out that the same kind of songs and poetry and literature is just the same, about the same stones, basically. We belong to the same stones, the same place, and the trees. During jail time, I want to say also, the idea of sumud, the steadfastness, is very important in our culture. And I just want to mention this for one reason, because many people think the nonviolence struggle or principles and the conflict resolution is a Western thing. I just want to mention here, as I'm trying everywhere, that our culture, the local culture, has a lot to offer, a lot of resources that we have to use. People that came to the land knows that our cultures and region has a lot values that we need to activate and use, and not just import ideas from the West. That's not gonna work, honestly. And part of this, as I said, like for example, when we speak about nonviolence, it is existing in our culture for a long, long time, that what we call it sumud, to steadfastness. My sister named Sumud, she was born, we were in jail, because my brother was in jail. The other idea is sulha, I want to mention this, which is reconciliation in the tribal system, and it's really important to bring the global knowledge and the nonviolence communication, Roberta, into the local. I think that's how I see a key there for the future. Anyway, so since personally I'm out of jail until now, I'm very active in Combatants for Peace and other groups that trying to promote freedom and liberation and reconciliation and healing to our cause. And this is going to be a long journey. I don't really, what we say, this is something we learn from the olive trees. We say, I'm trying to translate to Arabic. You know Arabic, right? تعرف عربي? Who's from Gaza? Huh? I'm trying to translate something. Says, غرسوا فأكلنا ونغرس فيأكلون. How do you translate this? ونغرس فيأكلون. It's basically for the olive trees. When people plant the trees, they don't know who will eat in next future generations. And that's what I feel all of you here doing, basically, for the next generation. Thank you.
In just a moment, we're going to open up to audience questions. I believe a mic will be brought to the center. Before we do, I do want to hear from you both about how October 7th and the war on Gaza has affected your work and your communities, and how you have managed to remain together collectively through this time.
October 7 was a shock for me. I remember the morning of the October 7th, Saturday, and I remember that I felt like everything was like shaking. My whole world is like falling apart, and I cried the whole day. I think I cried not only because the massacre that happened in the south of Israel. I think inside I already knew that Israel will attack Gaza, and a lot of people will die, both sides. The other day, I had a Zoom meeting with my colleague Sahel from Ramallah. We're working together. And the first thing that I told him was, Sahel, I hate you all. And he held it and also said, but, you know, it's fake. It didn't happen. It's fake, all of this. We needed to build the trust between us again. I needed to find myself again, my identity as Israeli, as Jewish, as peace activist, as a member of Combatants for Peace. What helped me was that we decided in Combatants for Peace not to give up. And I think 2 days after, we had the first Zoom meeting with the first group, like the leaders. And we talked about everything. I remember that I asked Jamil, the leader from the Palestinian side movement, I asked him, Jamil, I need your acknowledge in my pain. I need you to acknowledge my pain now. This is what I need. And I got it. And since then, day after day, we had Zoom meetings. It was first like only Israelis, only Palestinians, to give a safe space for everyone to share the feelings, to share the fear, the questions, and then we did a binational Zoom meeting. It wasn't easy. There are people between us that left the movement. I have a friend that told me, even my son, please don't tell us about the kids in Gaza now. I have no space here. I need to grieve about my own now. I remember with the conversation with Jamil, we asked, what should we do now? And I said, we need to go together through the pain. And one of the questions that I was like rolling in my head, what is our role now in Combatants for Peace? What should we do now? And then I saw like a picture. I saw hands like this. And I understood that we need to hold the little flame of hope. We need to hold it so when people will need to take some fire, some hope, they will have the place to take it. And there is something that I want to ask all of you. If you want to help us, the Israelis and the Palestinians, please don't choose a side. Don't choose to be with Palestinian or with Israelis. Don't choose the side. Choose peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Iris. Maybe just to add all the beautiful ideas that we spoke about, maybe in the first question and then generally, has come under like kind of exam, test, when there is like a hurt. Because honesty, it's really easy to speak about, you know, morality and moral values and love and peace when you are in comfort zone. But that's not that's not a big thing to speak about it. It is about it. It's like the big thing is when it happens when you are hurt. That's a big challenge. And for our movement and our community, of course, this time still a very challenging time with all the war and the violence, and like now, as you know, in Gaza, like we're talking about 30,000 people killed already, and the forces that want to drag the region into more war, more darkness, maybe the global even. And I think we as a movement, we are not a big number, but together with many people around the world, I think we can bring the different voice that really call for real change and system change. So many lessons has been learned in this time. One of them that managing this conflict under the occupation is not gonna work. It's finished. The second thing, we need like a serious real system change for the people in the land and beyond. And the third thing maybe to say here, I feel as it is mentioned, like after we cross the very hard first a few meetings, they were really tense. This is a real conversations. It's time of truth. It's a historical moment. It's not simple. Some people leave, unfortunately. I'm talking about generally, not specifically about Combatants for Peace. I know some people went back to serve in the army. These are not my alliances. I just want to make it as clear, crystal. And at the same time, any Palestinian from our circles that support killing and violence is not my alliances. Period. And this is a very harsh statement for many people. I know this. And everyone have their excuses. What we say, there is no excuse for killing, especially civilians. Despite we can, bring the history, the trauma, they did this, we did this. And we are not comparing who's the evil in town or who's the victim here. So I think Combatants for Peace and the organizations that in our line represent hope and maybe finding a moment of opportunity between to practice at this moment to turn this darkness into light. And I'm personally, I have to say, and maybe this is weird, despite the killing, the bloodshed, everything, this is the most time I'm feeling the liberation of our land and people is happening right now. And maybe it's weird to say this while the killing and everything, unfortunately for the wrong reasons, but I can see the opportunity. I can see and feel that the system is shaking. And I'm really happy for this. I have to be as truth and honest. I don't want, no cell in my body want to see violence. But no cell in my body want to live like we did before.
All right, y'all, let's have a conversation. I would like to invite whoever wants to ask a question of our speakers to please step up to the mic and share your name and your question.
My name is Elliot. Thank you very much, for coming here, for being with us, and for telling your stories. I guess my question, it's to both of you, is what do you say to Palestinians and those who, want, Palestinians to be free to live in equality, when they say, we've tried the nonviolence, okay? We tried diplomacy, we tried, boycott, and that's been made illegal. We tried the Great Return, okay? Coming to the wall, the fence, and we got shot. And we can't accept living the way that we're living in Gaza. And we've tried other means. What do you say to them?
Thank you. We'll take maybe 2-3 comments, feelings.
Suli is saying, one, we can take like 2 to 3 questions, comments, and then we'll answer once we gather a few. And he's also saying, if you just want to share a thought or a feeling, we also invite that.
My question is very related. I wanted to ask you that in New York, we have friends of all sides. And I've been amazed that when a Jewish friend says, oh, I'm so upset about it, turns out she's upset about Palestine. And, you can't anticipate. And my question is, one of the point, when people ask me to be on either side, I say, if you don't talk about the despair on both sides, I don't want to play. But my question is, when people come up to you, kind of like the other half of that question is, how do you speak to a Palestinian or somebody supporting the Palestinians that this is so horrible, we have to wipe them out. And when you speak to a Jewish person that says it was so terrible and they've promised genocide, they want to get all of us, it was so horrible, we have to wipe them out. What do you say?
Hi, I'm Bill. Thank you so much for being here and sharing this with us, because we're not there. But I just wanted to thank you. In the film clip, you mentioned hope. And in the film clip, the most powerful thing to me was the man with the boy on his shoulders when he said, "Lay down your arms and join us." The belief in the hope that the soldier would lay down their arms. And that's so powerful. I just love to see that amplified more. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Andrew. I'm so profoundly moved by the work that you're doing, and that you've all brought us together to have a space, well, probably partly to grieve together, to sit with the terrible pain that we're all feeling. And I guess to sort of turn it into a question, I'm a psychologist, I'm a therapist, I do a lot of work with people that experience trauma, and I do a lot of thinking about how important it is for us as helpers to be able to bear or face or open to pain within ourselves, our own trauma, in order to be able to sort of open to the pain of others. And I guess I was sort of wondering, how does that maybe process or enter into the work that you're doing, to create a community that can come together and sit together with that kind of openness, and which is the opposite of the reactiveness, that leads to violence and war. So.
Yeah? Okay. You want to answer something, or?
Until you decide, I will tell something. I want to tell something, a little story, and I think it's the answer for at least 3 of them. I think the answer is the personal connection. I didn't meet a Palestinian person until the age of 52. I lived all my life in Israel. Strange, right? I lived all my life in Israel without meeting a Palestinian. I mean Palestinian from the occupied territories, not an Arabic with ID, Israel ID, inside the Green Line. And this changed my life. Because when you know someone personally, you can then understand the grief, the pain, the suffer, and then you can hold the pain of both sides. So I think the answer is knowing each other. Sit together. Hear. Acknowledge the pain. And I think there is something more. It's a process. It's a process. It needs time. And each one of us has his own rhythm, his own process on the way. I'm really proud to be part of community that each of us can hold inside the 2 sides, the pain of the 2 sides. And I think maybe I answered your question. I hope so.
As we said at the beginning, we'll leave you with some questions, honestly, because of course we don't have the answers for everything. But let me say, usually, especially with victimhood and the suffering, like it's easier to feel your own tribe suffering, of course, normal, everywhere, not in our part of the world, everywhere. And also the feeling, if you feel a bit empathy to what's supposed to be the other, you will lose the legitimacy of your own. Our work together in a community that shows us that's not true. It's actually not a competitive situation that, yeah, and if I recognize you, then I deny myself. I don't think, yeah, that doesn't work, like in my head. But of course, that's not easy. And sometimes it's also timing, like people feel they don't have any capacity to extend their empathy to the other ones. Not personally, not as community. We all know this. We all experience this in our life, in our personal life also, but in our community also. I think like having a community around us is very important, and that's what helps us to stay grounded and to stay together and to grieve together in this very harsh time. This is really central, I would say, to the activist groups, is really to have this community supporting each other and holding each other and generally, but specifically when there's a crisis. I think what we're trying to say and to do, and more to do than to say, I think we can, we are kind of like a model for our people that most likely hopeless about anything else than this conflict, than this war, than everything you know, because it's hard for people to imagine something else. And as we work with some other groups in other conflicts that's not Arab and not Jewish, thanks God, they also speak the same what we know, like in Ireland and other places, that their conflict is forever, God's hand in the conflict, it's different, we were here first, and all of this. It's very similar. Yeah, so I think just having, I personally was contacted recently because we spoke in the media since October 7, 8, 9, 10 until now, many times in mainstream media. And this is really, we are a small group. We are not like a huge movement. We don't even have a media team. Seriously, like it's a volunteering kind of base. We got invited, contacted by CNN and by New York Times and Democracy Now! And other places. So a lot of people heard about us in this time. Because I think really people are searching for hope. And I don't want us to play selling fake hope. Of course, we have to talk about the hard issues, of course, and the hard feelings and the challenges, and not to make people comfortable. That's not our goal. And I think from there, people can find the answers. Everybody have their journey. And maybe I got messages from all sides in the last few months. People like shocked that we even exist. And that there is voice in the other side that's not hatred. Because this is what broadcasted in the mainstream media. And I want to mention, I follow the media on both sides. But this is a very exceptional case. Most of our peoples live in a different movie. Totally. Even the same story, you can see it in Jazeera, in Israeli channels, nothing to do with each other. So we have to know this is like how to manage this. I really think some people can maybe get inspired to say, just to know there is what we say another way, there is another strategy, there is a bit crack on the wall, what they say. It's not all of them versus all of us. I think, as a friend said the other day, this time specifically, the division is not necessarily about Palestinian against Israelis and the other way around. It's like the conscious people, like it's a war of consciousness. Now, that's what I see right now specifically and globally between people that want to continue racism, separation, oppressing people, wars, and so on, and keep the system as it is, and between people that want to see a much nicer world. A very simple, it's as simple as that, in my eyes.
Hi. I've been involved in Zionist peace movements since 1982. When we first went, we were hosted by a political party and kibbutz movement that opposed the war, the first war in Lebanon that was going on as we were visiting. And recently, I've read both charters of Hamas. The first charter, which was 1988, which was very religious in its language and profoundly anti-Semitic, even and conspiratorial, to the extent that Jews were responsible for the French Revolution and the Russian Revolution, and not in a good way. So, given the nature of Hamas, I'm wondering where we go from here. I mean, what do we do with this? I mean, this is basically a Nazi movement. And I know there are, you know, Nazis or proto-Nazis in the current Israeli government. So I'm not excusing them, but honestly, I'm really not sure where you go, and you know, I want to say more power to you, but really, where do you go in the face of Hamas?
Do you want to answer that now? Or? Go ahead and come up.
So my name's Benz. Thank you all very much. It's been a very moving and very real discussion, and it has given me a glimmer of hope that I haven't had, and that hope comes from the realness. Like it's not like, you know, a kumbaya moment. That's what we say in this country. Like you just get on the Zoom and you're all like, oh, we love each other, we love nonviolence. Like it's real, it's hard. You have to rebuild trust, as you said. But it's the realness of it that makes the hope possible to me. You said something that really, really struck me. Don't choose a side, choose peace. I felt very convicted by that because I have felt more partisan in the wake of the current violence than not. So what I don't want to say wrestling with, but a comment and a question sort of all wrapped together is there is choose peace instead of choosing a side is obviously right, and it's grounded in the dignity and the value, the equal dignity and value of all human life, and in opposition to violence of any kind, anywhere. And at the same time, what can happen easily is what we sometimes call both sidesism, where you sort of make both sides equally responsible, equally at fault, equally guilty of something. And that, of course, has truth to it, but also has falsehood and also obscures, in the sense that, I mean, first of all, just the casualty numbers are disproportionate, but much more importantly, that the politics of the situation, the politics of the occupation, the power of the Israeli state, and the oppressive nature of its hold on the Palestinian people is an imbalance. So I just want to lift into the space what shouldn't be a tension, but that yet feels like a tension between those two things, the equal value of all life and the equal opposition to all violence, and yet the disproportionate nature politically of the situation, that the occupation is fundamentally the underlying cause. And that's, again, not to excuse any violence. I don't know if it's a question or a comment. I just wanted to speak that truth into the room. And thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here and for holding hope for us. My question is very related to the previous one around how do we choose the side of peace here in New York City, where protest movements on either side are built on taking a side or saying I'm for or against, I'm for a ceasefire, temporary, permanent, it is genocide, it isn't genocide. And the act of taking a position is experienced as harmful to one side or the other. I'm curious about your wisdom, the wisdom you have from your work in Israel and Palestine, and how we can take that home with us. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Zane, and I work for Middle Church as the director of comms. So I've been seeing pictures of you too, and I feel like I know you so well, but I don't. So it's nice to meet you. You both are very poetic when you speak, and I appreciate that. I think what, for me, maybe it's a comment, but would love thoughts. There are not many Black people in this room right now, and I think that that's something common that I see in these conversations. I grew up in Brooklyn, Pentecostal Christian, and I think a lot of this conversation, not your conversation specifically, but out in the world, misses out on Christians who are the pioneers of pro-Israel. I identify as transgender. I was born as a woman. At the age of 13, when you're in the Christian space I was in, you have to perform a dance to the song Gandol Adonai, I believe it's called. It's very ingrained in the Christian faith in a lot of spaces, in a lot of Latinx spaces, and in a lot of Black churches. And I mean like Baptist, Pentecostal, Methodist. A lot of these folks have the flag, Star of David. Like I said, I'm transgender. I had to change my name. In my family, it is a tradition to give the name David as the middle name, even though we are Puerto Rican and we are Christian and we have no ties to Israel, no ties to King David outside of believing in the story of Jesus. But it is something that heavily impacts the churches in New York, I can say. And there are I'm finding an issue with a lot of Spanish-speaking churches. I mean, my own family members who make up 150 members of one church, and those are only my first cousins. How do I have this conversation with them when we change our name to David, we have the Star of David in our homes, they don't actually understand that piece, and I think it's a language barrier. But I'm just interested in what does the conversation not look like just to folks who identify as Jewish, not just folks who are Palestinian, but the millions of Black and Latinx believers in Christ that support Israel without questioning it, because that's what we were taught to do.
I want to ask you guys. Yeah, I want to ask because there's some themes that I've heard through all of your questions and comments, so thank you. Two themes. One is, what do we do as people despair of the strategy of nonviolence? What is our message to those who are coming to believe or maybe believe that nonviolence doesn't work, which is to say then that a military solution or violence or an armed struggle is the answer, and interconnected with that, because that's a zero-sum strategy. One group has to win, one group has to lose. How do you guys navigate not wanting either side to win and not wanting either side to lose? What are the values and the beliefs that you're rooted in that help you to not do that yourselves? And Zane, by the way, white Christian, evangelical here, and you and I can definitely have lots of talks after this. But I really appreciate your question and your solidarity here, and we have some work to do.
All right. So I would say what we're doing back home, okay? So the power dynamic issue is on the table since day one, and I believe one of our founders here, I want to recognize my brother and friend, Elik Al-Hanan, here. Yeah. And since the first days, we were actually the first coordinators maybe of Combatants or Peace. We're a little group. Like the issue of the power dynamic was raised from first meetings. So we are not speaking about two equal sides. So the people that spoke about this, thank you. When I believe it is said don't pick sides. Maybe we're trying to say that while recognizing the power dynamic, we want all lives is sacred. As simple as that. And of course, if we want to compare, again, I don't want to go into the comparing. Of course, we see, I already, when we spoke about the oppressed and the oppressor, the history is very clear, but it's really not helpful for us, maybe, to say, oh, you lost 100 people, we lost 1,000. That's, all these losses are really sad. And definitely we have to speak about the system. And we speak about violence. Of course, there is radicalization if we speak about Hamas and some groups here there. But the system that run the land from the river to the sea is basically violent by default. And within this, you will find groups that go more like radical here and radical there. And thanks God, I'm not the spokesman of Hamas so far, so I can't really tell you about the charters of Hamas or the charter of Likud or the charter of the settler movement that deny the other side fully, totally. Like these charters exist a lot. I never, so I don't think it's helpful for us to stuck there. We know there are organizations and ideologies and thinkers and people that want zero-sum game. It's not a secret. In generally, I do believe transforming people is possible. And we know this also happened in history everywhere. We talk about Ireland. The IRA has done black, I don't remember, Sunday maybe, or black, whatever. Same people sitting in the government today. So I just want to leave us with a bit of imagination, of radical imagination, that transformation and change is totally possible, and that's maybe Combatants for Peace mainly is about. That we also were in the place of us and them, good and bad. With that said, I don't really have answers for all of it, but I do think we have to consider, maybe I'm speaking as a savior sometimes, I want to recognize I have it, but I really feel empathy, like from my heart, to all the people in the land. This is my truth, and maybe part of it, like it is mentioned, I have also Israeli friends from Combatants for Peace that we are together like almost 20 years. This became like my family, and their kids, I know them very well, and like my family kids. As I want to quote Chen Alon, one of our founders, when we did the first meeting after October 7, he said, I have my national heart that beat not just as Israeli anymore. He feels the same for Palestinian. This is for me the whole thing. This is equal all the political analysts and so on. And again, when we spoke about violence, we do speak about the structural violence, the systematic violence, and the organizational violence. So I just want to mention like these notes. If you want to add anything, please. Oh, good. Okay, if you disagree, we have peace. We finished.
Yeah, we finished everything. We finished the occupation, the war, everything. I just want to say one thing. there was a man that, I don't know, there was a question about that I'm doing like equal when I'm asking you to choose peace. And no, I know who is in charge here. I know that Israel has the blame and she's the occupier. I know it, and I don't ignore it. But between the river and the sea, there are 14 million people. And I think 9 million or something like this are Israelis, and the rest are Palestinians, if I'm Gaza and the West Bank and all over. No one is going away. And the Israelis and the Palestinians has the connection to the land, historical connection to the land. They are not going anywhere. So we have 3 options. Genocide from one side, genocide from the other side, or we live together. So when I'm asking, so when you ask me, what can you do? When you choose peace, just stand together. The one that wants free Palestine and the one that wants free Israel, we all want justice, freedom, security for everyone. For everyone. So we can stand together with the signs, with flags or not flags, doesn't matter, but with the signs that we are demanding justice and freedom and safety for all of us. And we can do it. And I really think there is, as Sully said, something is changing. I think we are part of a historical period. And maybe, just maybe, we have like a little chance that something will happen and the international community will force the Israel government, the Israel leaders, the Palestinian leaders, everyone that can do something, just sit and find a way, because there is a way, and we can stop it, and the sooner the better.
So, اسمي جبريل, I'm Gabriel. I was born in Argentina, but I lived in the Israel-Palestine for 29 years. And I want to bring the voice of our ancestor, of Abraham, and the reunion of Ishmael and Isaac that is written, is not an esoteric knowledge, it's written in the Torah that they met to bury their father together. And it's not just for religious people, it's a family issue. It's our father, for both of us. So there was a voice always in Israel, which was the prophetic voice that Martin Luther King Jr. brought up so strongly, and that Sully learned in jail in Israel. But I come from a family, my father was an assistant of Heschel, of Abraham Joshua Heschel, for 9 years, his private assistant, and Heschel was very close to Martin Luther King. And what they had connection was this connection to the prophetic voice of Israel. It wasn't the kings, the politicians, it wasn't the religious, the priests, it was the prophets. And the prophets are the ones who want justice and peace. It's not either justice or peace, it's both. And that's why on Friday night for Jews, we do Kiddush and Amotzi together, the bread and the wine, also in the church. You do the Mass, you have the body of Christ and the blood of Christ. You don't separate justice from peace. You don't separate love from truth. And this is one of the keys, I think, that people like Martin Buber, Yehuda Magnes, Hannah Arendt, Albert Einstein told
the early Zionists in the 1920s, in the 1930s. There is a people in this land who are not Jewish. You have to do something about it. This is the voice I come from. This is how the Sulha Peace Project was created, that Suli knows well from its beginning, and Eli was there also. So there is this voice that we have to put a loudspeaker, a boombox to, and that is the voice of Abraham, because that was Abraham's initiation from the first king of Jerusalem, Melech Tzedek, Melech Shalem, the king of justice, the king of the city of peace. And when he sat with Abraham, after all those wars that Abraham went through, the kings of Edom, they drank wine and they ate bread. And they said, you shall never separate justice from peace. And I think this is what, when Suli talks about values, and Iris talks about how she awoke to this feeling of that everybody needs to be from the river to the sea. And the Hamas charter, Likud charter says the same thing, by the way, like Hamas, same thing. So this voice has to be brought together, and I think people like you are what makes the Holy Land holy. You are one of the last ones that makes the Holy Land holy. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. Because the Holy Land is not holy without you.
Thank you. Thank you all. We're going to go ahead and close. Yes.
Do you have any final blessing, final thought you want to share with us as we wrap? Either of you. Elise or Suli?
I want to thank all of you, and I want to thank you for choosing the narrow way, for loving your enemy as your neighbor, as your friend. And thank you for your example to all of us. Thank you for hosting us. Thank you for all who joined online as well. Let us keep doing this good and difficult work together.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you all so much for leading us in this rich discussion. Do you have more to say, please?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, I know there are so many challenges in our way to make this change happen together. It's not our responsibility alone. And as they speak in the theater, you are part of the issue. Honesty. And I want to question myself and everyone, the question of solidarity and the savior and the support has to be asked to each one of us that engage in this conflict in one way or another, especially here in the US. So I really just want to invite us to disturb our peace, as this movie called. And this movie was called Disturbing the Peace because two of our activists were arrested by the army out of a non-violence demonstration near Beit Jala. And when we asked the army, why did you arrest them? They said they disturbed the order. For the army, the order is the peace. So I agree with you, Gabriel, about peace and justice comes together. And I want to say, lastly, that as we keep our heart open to the reality and grounded, we just keep our leg in reality and one leg in the dream. We can't give up on the dream, basically, because the alternative is disaster. It's like there is no alternative. I don't feel privileged to lose hope. For me, that's not an option. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You good? Yes, no? She has one more. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to, I'm very, very sad inside. And I just want you to be silent for a moment and pray for all the people that while we are sitting here, they are very afraid. They have no food, no shelter, and they need our hope. So please, can we send them our energy and our hope? Thank you so much.
Tiffany, Iris, Suli, we are beyond thrilled that you would bring your vulnerable selves, your beautiful hearts, your hard work, your peacemaking to this place to inspire us. We're so grateful. Gilly, thank you so much for making the...
That Suli and Iris are going to be speaking again tomorrow evening. Is that okay? I already said it, but it's at Central Synagogue, 6:30. So if anybody feels like sharing with someone you know, to let them know, because this is it's very important to feel the comfort of you in this time. I don't know.
Okay. We're going to put all of this, what I want to... Central Synagogue. If you're online, there's only one Central Synagogue. Look up Central Synagogue. Please plan to come again and continue this conversation. This conversation is ongoing. Judson Memorial Church, if you're online and you don't know, this is Judson, whose DNA is justice and love and peace. Middlechurch.org to stay connected to all the work we're doing, interfaith, on this project. This card is in the back for you, Freedom Rising, a conversation that we're going to have about peace and justice across the globe and also here in the U.S. on the way into the election. One more announcement, dear. We're going to let everybody go.
There is specifically a campaign right now, the vote to prohibit the American government from supporting UNRWA, which is the UN refugee organization that is taking care of 1.2 million people in Gaza. So please, everyone, go home and write a letter, write an email, call every representative and say, we need the US to stand up and support UNRWA and humanitarian aid. And Suli and Iris also are speaking Friday night at Congregation Beit Simchat Torah. Yeah, West 30th Street. So this is a week for all of us to gather in community and support each other. Tell everybody who's mourning and crying and wants companionship. People are lonely who feel the way we feel. This is a week when we can gather. So hope everybody comes every night.
Thank you, Roberta. I want to put this mic back in the hands of yes. What? Oh.
Yeah. So, Suli, Iris, and I, we have very few shirts left from that was brought in from Palestine. We have one for you. We wanted to give you shirts. For the movement. Welcome to the movement, of course. Thank you. You've already been a part of the movement.
Really? Yeah.
Micah, remember Micah, I have one for you as well. And then this book is Suli's book, and he also wanted to share it with you and give this to you as a gift.
Thank you, Suli. Thank you. Thank you. I might let Micah read it. Thank you. We love you. Okay, Micah gets to have the last word because it's his church. The name of the book is In This Place Together, A Palestinian's Journey to Collective Liberation. All of this recording, all of these words, all of these announcements will be up on our websites, so you can track it, okay? Stay in touch with us, stay in touch with you. Love you, love you, love you, love you. Give Micah his shirt. Micah's church gets to say goodbye. Thank you all so much.
Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Combatants for Peace. Thank you, Reverend Jackie and Middle Church. The conversation continues. Take it into the world, and you know where to go next. John, remind us that we need each other to survive, and sing us into this movement.
I'm gonna just sing you out with a Sweet Honey thing. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot cannot rest until it comes. Oh, we who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Could you try it before you leave? We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Go in peace, my friends.